Hello and welcome back to the What the Falk Sunderland review show. Wins are great, defeats are a bit of a pain in the arse, but 0-0 draws are perhaps the worst thing for a podcast, if I'm completely honest with you, but we're going to try our best. I'm joined by two regular voices to go over Sunderland's 0-0 draw with Coventry City on Saturday. First up, Ross Black. Ross, how are you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, good. Like you say, 0-0 draws are hardly the best ones to decipher and talk about, but we'll give it a good shot.
I honestly, if anyone thinks about doing a podcast, if you get a 0-0 draw, it's the worst because you've got no goals to speak about and you're kind of not happy and you're also not that sad. But anyway, Dave, you've joined us as well. Cheer us up, mate, because we're not in a sad mood. It's a 0-0 draw, isn't it?
Yeah, I'll try my best, but I'm not promising anything. Yeah, I'm looking forward to questions at the end. That'll be good. I'm sure someone's got some banter for us.
I've enjoyed it, actually. I've enjoyed the readers' questions. Readers' questions? No one reads us. Listener questions. I have enjoyed it, yes. We've got a few of them at the end. If you just want to skip straight to that and not listen to our own questions, you can do that, but I'm not going to tell you when it starts, so it's going to be a bit of a lottery. But coming to you first, Ross, obviously, I think I'd have taken a point before the game, to be honest with you. So as much as I've sounded downbeat about 0-0 draw, I would have definitely took a point before the game. I thought would get beat. So what are your thoughts on the game and the result?
Yeah, spot on. I think you're right when we're saying before the game he would have took a point. And I think I said in the chat, in isolation, it's probably a good point. But with the start of the season we've had, and I know it was to me what is disappointing is how it seems how far ahead Coventry are attacking wise to us, and it was glaringly obvious to everybody. Poor Dave I thought he was going to have a heart attack in the chat during the match. Have I heard "get a striker" one more time? Get a striker. It was like a man in the mirror saying, "We get a striker, get a striker, get a striker." Then a striker would just appear. And one did, called Hamir, but he wasn't very good when he came on.
A bit like Candyman.
Yeah.
Dave, obviously you're not happy about not having a striker. Look, someone said, "Can you go to a whole podcast without mentioning it?" I'm sorry if that's what you tuned in for. It's really hard to do anything but. Dave, 0-0 draw, would have took it before the game. What was your thought on the results, the performance? Is it positive?
Yeah, I think like Ross says, in isolation, it's absolutely fine. But the problem is 4 points from the first 12, isn't it? So it's probably not that great. Yeah, I thought Jack Clark was a lot better today than he has been. So I'll take that as a positive. I'm not saying that says much because I don't think he's had a great start. Job's keeping up his record, isn't he? He's having one great game, one bad game. Let's not go with bad game, that's harsh. Let's go one anonymous game. But that's probably just them finding out that Job is not a centre forward.
Or potentially that he's only 17, I think, is which we probably forgot about, to be honest. But I kind of agree in a way. I think Clarkey looked a bit better. I'm still waiting for more from Clarkey, but the positives. So I think it's a point I would have taken. I do think Coventry will be up and around there. Ellis Sims didn't score. Shocked by that. The biggest part though, Ross, first clean sheet of the season. I'm sure we'll come on to the other end of the pitch. We have already in a way, but we've discussed some of the silly mistakes we've made that have led up to goals, be it some of them have been unlucky deflections, but there's been losing the ball higher at the pitch and stuff like that. But I thought Ballard and 09 were really good today. I think Serkins had a good start of the season as well. I don't think Hume has, but I'm not going to be too harsh. I thought first clean sheet's really important. How important is that to you, obviously, based on the past few weeks where we've been a little bit shaky at points?
Yeah, massive. I think it's huge for Patterson as well, because I don't think you can do a lot with the goals we've conceded, if I'm honest. The two deflections especially. The one thing we've always said that's been pointed at over here lately is, for all that we haven't got a striker, we've still kept scoring goals, and then we've been conceding far too many. But again, it's one of them where they did have chances. I thought Patterson pulled off one brilliant save in particular. Can't remember who it was, and like they mentioned Sims. That I think is it right? The lad they've brought in.
Actually, right. I think he's called.
He looks good, but on the flip side, they've had to spend millions on him just to get him there in the Championship. And I know it's something we'll go on to, but their front line costs 20 odd million today. So you can see why we're in this position with what's happened. But sorry to go back. We're talking about the defence and I'm still backtracked. But on the defence, yeah, I'm really happy for the defence as a whole because, me included, I've been a bit critical of the goals they've conceded, but today they stood up tall against a very strong attacking lineup. And it'll only do the confidence good going forward on the next week against a very good attacking side in Southampton.
Look, it is hard not to admit. I know you went in on the strike to say we'll try to talk about defence, and if there's anyone listening going, "Oh, for God's sake!" Like every podcast goes on about this. Yeah, we do, but it's really hard not to because it's really glaringly obvious. But I've got to be honest and say that I thought defence was really good today. I thought Ballard was excellent. I don't think it's any surprise that I think Ballard's great, but I think that's probably his best performance he's had in this season. I thought he was good last week, and I thought the defence was good last week. Against a pretty poor team that I think will be bottom 5. But outside of the one mistake that they made, which came from, I think, Equa last week, the past 2 weeks have been far better. And I think if you can, and as Sam Allardyce would say, if you can, or Michael Bowers, if you prefer, very different people for the record. But they both have the same belief that if you can keep clean sheets, obviously it's a really good foundation to build on. And that's a really hard thing to argue against because if you're struggling to score goals, or you don't have like a focal point, if you can keep tight at the back, then you never know what you might get up the top. But Dave, I'll come to you the next one. Obviously, I'm going to have to come on to it. I think it's pretty obvious what we're missing. And I don't just mean a striker in that. I think there's still a defensive midfielder missing there as well. I was excited for about 4 hours that we might sign Adam Forshaw. And then that didn't happen at all. But as per reports, it doesn't seem that we're any closer to signing a centre forward. Don't know if we're any closer to signing that defensive midfielder. Hopefully that changes. Mowbray said a few things. I think it was a few people said it was clickbait. I don't think it is clickbait. I think Tony Mowbray has more or less said that he's a little bit worried that a striker might not come in. But I think at the same time as he's saying he's not really in charge of recruitment, so you can take it one way or another, really. But what did you make of Mowbray's comments, Dave? And what have you made of the fact that we're not really that much closer to getting a striker by the sounds of it?
I think the only phrase I've got for it, mate, is it's just boring. I'm just bored of it. We've said everything we can possibly say on the matter, I think, and who knows if it's Mowbray trying to put pressure on a game. We've said it every review this season. Oh yeah, even the forwards that we're looking at apparently aren't out and out centre forwards. From what we understand, they're more that kind of winger type centre forward. From what I've seen with the few appearances that Hamia's had in the league, one, he's not ready, but secondly, we don't know how to play that way. The couple of pre-seasons that I saw, the balls that went in the box, he actually became quite useful. I think at one point today I saw him outside, like as if he was a right winger. And I'm thinking, do us a favour, just get in the box. Just get in the box and like let someone cross the ball. But then because Clark is on one side and inverted, Barr was out there today, and Barr put a couple, certainly one that I remember, one decent ball in from the right, and I'm thinking, yeah, big centre forward might have actually done something there. Frustrating. That's how it's going to be until it's resolved. But I said in the chat, people might disagree. I've gone full circle considering we're a couple of weeks into the season, but it's a mid-table team at best. I think there'll be a lot of people disagree with that, but I think it's a good. I said 3 to 4 signings. That's probably being generous. It could probably be closer to 5. I don't think we're going to get that many. So yeah, just more frustration, and maybe they've got to lower my expectations a little bit.
Yeah, I think so too, and I don't want to make too many assumptions too early because you can lose your first 6 games in the Championship and still get in the playoffs, as Coventry and Borough proved last season. But we do look a bit short, and I think people might be saying, "Oh, it's only a striker. We played without a striker last year," but like Diallo and that made a difference. And obviously, Roberts was missing today. You get a couple of injuries, and we look short. It's really hard not going about, and I don't want to. So I'm going to move on a bit and look at like solutions if possible. Ross, my cat's busy shouting in the background. He's obviously not happy about the absence of said striker, but there has to be. We have to start looking at solutions here. That's what Mowbray needs to do. And I know Rusin, I think he's called, potentially could come in. That seemed like it was done by the Ukrainian press, and then Stanfield seemed done. And obviously he went and bagged today and signed for Birmingham. But I think, how would you feel if we went with kind of what we have, Ross, and then Stewart comes back? I think he's playing in a bounce game or something. I could be wrong with that. I'm sure I read that somewhere. And then that Mayenda thinks he might be back in about 3 or 4 weeks to a month or something. Is it doable to get by and then see what Stewart and Mayenda bring, or is that just, am I clutching a bit?
I think I don't know. It's one of them. It's all if buts and maybes, isn't it? No certainties. There's no solid signings. There's no solid plan. I'm worried now. I've been the one who's been pretty, like, in the group chat. I'm probably the one who, me and Brad are more half glass full when it comes to the transfer and recruitments. You and Dave have both expressed obvious concerns, and I can see where they come from. But I've always had the faith that it would come to the last week, and we'd have a central midfielder in, we'd have a striker or two on the way, and we're sat here after 4 championship games, where them gaps are still glaringly obvious. And normally I'd be like, yeah, we're just waiting out for the right ones. But the fact that we're linked with players and we're clearly after them and they're going somewhere else is worrying. And then the links today that came out from Scotland tonight about Ross Stewart leaving to Southampton again. So he may not even get the chance to see Ross Stewart play for Sunderland. But then also on the flip side, would the sale of Stewart for cash enable us to then get players in? It's catch-22 at the minute. The market's crazy. That's one thing I'm going to point out. Like, Joel Pirro, 15 million. Fuck me, man. He's not that good.
The market's mad. Like, I mean, I know it, and I don't want to like make excuses, because my opinion is that we should have had these players lined up like long.
Yeah,
in
100% we should have had players.
But it's mad how much, like, I think we kind of got by a bit last season, how good Robertson and Diallo were together, and that freed up a lot of space for Jack Clark on the left. And Pritchard played a lot more last season, which he played a bit more this season, but God knows what's going on with that. But Hamir doesn't look ready to me, and doesn't look like the kind of player that we need at the moment. And that's okay. I'm not slating him. The kid's 19. He's not meant to be the finished article yet. But at the minute, he's our only striker. I'd be devastated to see Ross leave. But Dave, well, actually, no, I'll come back to you, Ross, with this one. A central midfielder seems essential as well. I know Ekwa's great. I think Dan Neal's had a good start to the season, but I still feel there's a bit of like, there's that Corey Evans missing.
Yeah, we've got no control. Scanning the defence off the ball. And the transition when we lose the ball is where I'm worried about us. That's where the goal against Ipswich and Rotherham came from. Like, we lost possession against Preston. We were easily countered. We didn't have that scan in front of the back line. But who's available? It feels maybe it's a bit too late. I think the problem was we're banking on Matete to come back in. And that injury has really, really fucked the plans up. But why? That was 4 weeks ago now. They knew this. It seems like we're just sitting. Are we going to go all out like a Roy Keane type of thing, and then just go, like, say, six games in? Will be 4 games in or 5 games in? Sorry, when it shuts. So the season's part. There's a lot of games to play, but it just feels like we're waiting for something to happen. And we were doing this last January. We were waiting for the striker to come in. We were waiting for the centre midfielder to come in, and it didn't happen. It feels like they've got to get it right this time, or to me, they're wasting the season, because I don't think we'll go down. We're too good to go down, but we're not gonna challenge the playoffs, and we only are 3 or 4 players away from being a solid team who can challenge. Because we say when we Coventry today, and they've spent millions, and we've matched them. We've just had a few parts missing, and I know we're on about before going back to strikers. Sorry to go again, but you're on about Mayenda to come back. Everybody's like, "Oh, Mayenda to come back." He's 2 years younger than Hamir, and we're all saying Hamir's not ready. how can this kid be ready all of a sudden just because he's 2 years younger? I love the model, and I think it's great when it works, but you kind of fuck with strikers. They're not they're the reason, they're the main source for income, the main most paid, the most known in the world, and that's because they do the hardest job, and that's put the ball in the back of the net. And you can't be relying on kids to do that. And if Stewart is going to go, we need to get money in from him. We need to replace him. If he's going to stay, we need to get him fit, and we need to put him up front in a red and white shirt.
Yeah, I think that's pretty. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Hopefully, Rusin comes in so we can sing "Wise Men Say Only Fools Rush In," which would be a fantastic chant, and you can have that completely free. Dave, I'm going to come to you quickly because my cat's moaning on like the most moan he's ever been, ever, and it's doing my nut in. Shut up, mate. Jesus. One player back from injury today, Elliot Embleton. I am actually a really big fan of Embo. Obviously, he wasn't going to come on today, I think Tony Mowbray said, but just in your opinion, Dave, Embo, how much of an impact can he make this season?
Yeah, he's if nothing else, if the quality isn't quite there with Embo, and I think he does do it in spells, and it's up to him to start performing consistently. With Elliot, I think he needs a good run of games, but he's always got that chip on his shoulder, hasn't he? He's always got that edge. You can tell he's a local lad, so you can tell how much it means to him, and I think he gives you an extra dynamic when he plays. It'll take a while for him to get up to speed. He's been out for so long, hasn't it? Bit of a freak injury. But yeah, he'll certainly add something else. And to be honest, just being around for a while, he's probably he is more experienced than the likes of Ekwa. He is a little bit more experienced than Dan Neil. And yeah, that can't be a bad thing, to be honest.
You know what's weird? I kind of agreed with you there on Dan Neil, and then I think Dan Neil's played over 100 games for Sunderland. I only realised this the other day, and I'm thinking, bloody hell. But I really like Embo. I think Tony Mowbray said today he can change a game, and I think once he's up to speed, I think he can. I know some people don't like him. That's fine. Like, everyone's got their own opinion, but I think for me, Embo's numbers have always been really impressive since he's played like regular first team football at Sunderland, and he had good numbers at Blackpool as well when he was there on loan. So 2-footed player, can take the corner. I think he's really important. But one player I think we really did miss today, Ross, and we spoke about it a bit last week on the show. Unfortunately, Patrick Roberts is out, and I think this season Patrick's been our best player. He's a huge miss. I think he's really hard to replace. We went with Abdullah Bar on the wing today, and for me it didn't really work. I'm not 100% sure that's his position at all, and I'm not writing anyone off. But whilst we're on the subject of the model, and in principle it's worked in a lot of situations, there's maybe one or two like Hoffman, Diaki, where it hasn't. I'm not writing anyone off, but Bar and like Jewison Benetti, for me, haven't really progressed in a year. They're about where they were when we first got them. Is that a bit concerning as well?
Yeah, but to me, I don't get the shift from Bar's position where he played against Norwich. He was very good in the number 10 role away last season. He scored, never got picked again in that position, came back pre-season, and now he's a winger. Like, I know, like, obviously I back Mowbray at the tilt, but some of his decisions and like the way he says players' positions are that, and he moves players about, sometimes honestly baffle me. Like, that one's back.
The Danny Bart one's a bit weird, isn't it? And Pritchard, but I think every time he came on the pitch, Pritchard's looked good, and the defence was really good today. But he's made comments about being naive and stuff, which he touched on a couple of weeks ago, and he then like drops the most experienced. Well, not drops him, doesn't play the most experienced players, and goes with like total naivety, and then the centre forward thing.
To me, he's made a rock his own back.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I think so. And I really like Tony, to quote Father Ted, but yeah, a little bit. I agree with you on Bar. I think he looks better in the 10, mate.
And Roberts is just, he's class. He brings out the best in players around him. And how long has he had to play without the bloody striker as well? Where he gets on the he does all his runs, gets to the 6-yard box and pulls it back, and there's no one there. Him and Ahmad last season, at least he had someone within a few yards he could tap the ball, but now we're just going around in circles, aren't we? Here, let's be honest. It's we've done three weeks of these podcasts now, and nothing's changed. It's a massive week for Speakman. It's a massive week for Louis Dreyfus, because I think Speakman takes a lot of the flack for him because he's got away with a lot of off the field shit. Because off the field we're a bit of a shambles, and that's been covered by how good we've been doing on the field. And I feel if on the field stuff starts to unravel, if we don't get the players in, we're left short, and this season becomes a struggle. The off field stuff will get exaggerated and brought to the fore. So yeah, it just feels. I'm happy with the point, and I'm so glad we didn't get beat, because I think if we get beat, it would have been meltdown central. But I think we've reached a boiling point this week, and it's ready to go. And if we don't get it sorted by Saturday or the week after, and we get battered off Southampton at home in front of the telly, it could turn. I just feel like it's ready to go.
Yeah, I think when things are like not great off the pitch and stuff, but it's great on the pitch, and you like all the players, it's dead easy. It's like switch off from it. And maybe that's the right thing to do. Maybe that's the wrong thing to do, because ultimately all you really care about is the results on the pitch. But things do get magnified when they're not great. And look, people will be listening to this and go, bloody hell, they've been dead negative. But like, I thought we were good today. Like, there's a load of positives about it, but there is that underlying concern that I have, that I'm like, I felt a bit positive. And I think I said at the time in the preview show that I felt like that positivity was coming from my heart rather than my head. But I also was like, things will fix within a few weeks. And I'm just a bit, I hate getting into the last week of the window and not knowing where we're at. But I agree. I think a lot of people do have a go at Speakman. I'm one of them. But I think KLD and Harvey's part of that as well. You know, if they get praised for the success, they've also got to be looked at when things are not right as a collective. They're a team. They're not an individual. And Speakman can only deal with what he's been given. There is an element of, it's not his money to spend, it's just his job to do what he can do. And if he's told you cannot have anything more than, a little bit on loan, then what's he meant to do? Like, Stansfield wants to stay closer to his family. I think that makes sense to me. Obviously, I think everyone knows the story with his dad and stuff like that. So he's obviously going to be very close to his mum. So I think, understandably, that makes sense. And then you've got Tom Cannon. It's like a £1 million loan fee. That's a lot of money. So that I'm not always a Speakman defender. However, I think there is reason to look at KLD and other people as well, Ross.
Can I have one question to you and Dave? With the rumours tonight.
No, I do them. I do the questions. No, move on.
I want you to answer the question, Graham. I want you to answer. I want to put you on the spot. You need to give an opinion. You need to be cancelled on Twitter. You need to be vilified on the forum.
Don't want to.
If we had an offer to sell Ross Stewart and it meant we brought in a centre midfielder and 2 strikers, would you take it right now?
No.
Dave?
It'd have to be some offer, and it's money that we're not going to get. It's for me, if you were right now, if I was on the understanding that Roscoe would not sign and has no interest in signing, and you offered me 10 to 12 million, then yes, I'd take it. But that money's not on the table. There's nowhere near it. There's nowhere close. So, no.
I mean, 12 plus, aye. But I kind of, with what Dave said, I don't think we'll get more than 5 at the minute because of A's injuries. And B, I think we could get into a situation where he comes back, becomes our focal point, scores loads of goals because he's class. And then you get a January and then you think, wait, he's still only worth 5 million because his contract's done. And we're going to have to pay up. I think it's a really difficult situation. I think his contract should have been done a long, long time ago and you wouldn't have had that situation. But at the minute, like, it's needs must. And I think for the money we could get for Ross Stewart, I don't really think it would really be, I don't think we get enough to cover what we need necessarily. I would have felt a lot better if we brought someone in like Adam Forshaw. I think that would have been a cracking signing. But by the by, he's obviously chose someone else. Stansfield's obviously chose someone else for their own personal reasons. But listener questions, I quite like this, and a lot of them relate to a striker. So if you've had enough of the striker chat, fucking switch off immediately right now. But that is where we are with the fan base at the minute. That's kind of the situation. I'll throw this one to you first, Dave. From Keith, simple question. Are you confident we'll sign a striker?
No, not at all. Easy as that.
Yeah, I've got to be honest. I feel the same way. I think I've seen this picture before. And I think we're going to wait and see if we can get Mayenda and Stewart fit and use them too. And don't get me wrong, if Mayenda is good and he does well and Ross Stewart comes back with no problems, then I think I'm almost okay with waiting a couple of weeks. If it's say 3 weeks before one of them or two of them are back, but nothing's ever straightforward with Sunderland. Throw that one to you too as well, Ross. I think you don't need too many opinions on that. Is that something you're confident in? Because I know you've got a slightly different opinion than maybe me and Dave have had recently.
Yeah, I think we will bring a striker in. But I think if we bring a striker in, I think the striker leaves.
Ugh. Oh, man. Next question from Tony. Touching it a little bit, but it's a slightly different question, so I'll throw this one to you, Ross. Abdullah Bar, have we seen enough to realise he's unlikely to be good enough for Sunderland? I thought it was an odd decision starting him today. I know we've touched on it a little bit, but this is less on his position, more on if he's good enough.
I think he's got talent. He's shown that, like you say, Norwich away was brilliant. But he scored well. I don't think he's been given a fair chance on his right position, but we've now got more number 10s than any team in the league. It's crazy. Yet we play one. So I feel like he's been shoehorned into being Lahadji's replacement. And it's then going to have a knock-on effect on his development. So I don't know if that's a knock-on effect of the recruitment or a knock-on effect of the management, but I feel like he's regressed into the potential that he showed last season, 100%.
It talks about bringing money in and stuff like that. I kind of completely forgot that Lahadji even existed at any point. The rumours was it was, 2.15 rising to 4, something like that.
Where's the money gone?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, we've banked that, which has been like a bonus amount of cash because, look, I would have took probably 2 million for Lahadji. I'll be honest, I can say it now. He's gone. I thought he looked like Bambi on ice.
But then there's also rumours in the French press, a very reliable French press, that we're bidding €4 million for wingers. Like, what the fuck? We need strikers, man.
I mean, at this point, like, I was really dead against it, but if someone chucked me 25 million for Jack Clark and we could get a striker, a midfielder, and his replacement in, I mean, I'd rather not lose him. But like at this point,
I don't think we're going to get that kind of money for him, though, are we?
No, I don't think so. Unfortunately, because his name's not Alex Scott, so he's not in. He's not popular. He's not a fad, and I don't mean the female one. Very good commentator for the record. I mean the male one that went to Burnley, Bournemouth 25 mil. Dave, Michael Snow. It's kind of a little bit on what we've touched already, but something slightly different. It's mad how many these questions and stuff we've come up with naturally. To be fair, like our variations of, like I feel like everyone in the fan base is feeling the same way. But question for the pod: if we're struggling so bad to get a striker due to the market value of strikers, why don't we just give Stewart what he wants? It seems like common sense and it saves us a lot of money, Dave. I'm going to throw that one at you because I know you answer, but it's your turn anyway.
Yeah, I'm exactly the same opinion as you. Should have been done 18 months ago. I think it's the best thing that's happened to us in that position probably since
VAD. Josie Alado.
Yeah, I mean, Defoe, but even before that, for not having a short-term fix. Although it did turn out short-term, didn't it? I think that the last time that I saw a centre-forward signed that I consistently loved watching week in, week out, and Defoe does fit that, but was probably Darren Bent. We're going back as far as that. Obviously, we all know how that turned out as well. But yeah, should have been done. It shouldn't have mattered if we were getting another centre forward in or whatever. He's done enough in the time that he's played to warrant what he deserves. And he's probably going to get that elsewhere. And that really pisses me off, if I'm honest.
Yeah, same. I kind of agree. I would have given it a long. I mean, if you're talking like if you want 45 grand a week, well, no, because like it just makes no sense. But I think the boy's someone you can really hang your hat on, and has been outside of the injuries, unfortunately, which obviously is a factor, but he's been someone you can hang your hat on, and the first one since, you know, the likes of JD and Darren Bent, and we all know how valuable they were over the time with Sunderland, and going further back, Quinny and Phillips, players like that, you don't get that fit into your system and just work perfectly. And it doesn't matter, you could spend 25 million on a striker, it might not work as well as it did with Stewart. But I mean, I'm not in charge of the purse strings, and I can't spend his money. I can't even spend my own. I'm useless for money anyway, so I'd probably just give him about 45 grand knowing me. But last question, Ross, before we go. This has been quite a sad pod. I'm really sorry, everyone. Good result, but we're just concerned, and I would like to be happier, but unfortunately at the minute I've got my concerns, and I think we all have, and I hope everyone understands why. But it's a striker question, Ross. Are players like Jack Clark and Patrick Roberts going to get fed up with not having any striker to hit?
Yes. Clark looks sick as fuck from the season. I feel like he got through it last year because he had the likes of Ahmad, Roberts, even Gelhardt linked up well. I think that's forgotten. He wasn't a goal scorer, but he linked up well. But I think the players understood last season that like injuries got us, and it was late in the window, and they were like, "Yeah, fair enough," but they're not daft. There's the reason all these rumours are coming out about leaving. It's because they want more. They want the club to match the ambition on the pitch, as well as contract-wise. You can pay them all the money in the world, but if they're not happy on the pitch, then it means an out. And I feel like we're at the crossroads. We're not saying spend billions. We're saying get the players in for the right areas who are going to bring out the best of our players that are currently there, and we're going to make a fist of it in this season, rather than just peter out with the same old shit that we've been crying out for a striker for a year. Just sign a striker, please.
I mean, we said about Broadhead 6 months ago, and he scored again today. I think he'll score goals in the Championship. I said at the time I'd rather Broadhead than Sims. For the record, mind, the money Coventry spent on what I've seen of Sims today, I think collectively we can all agree that was probably a good move not to spend that amount of cash. Doesn't look like he's a player that's going to get any better than what we've already seen. Great finisher, not too great if you need him to be your target man, I don't think.
Can we just add, Mark Robbins has gone full Football Manager today. He's absolutely adamant that when you play Ellis Sims against his former club, he scores, and they got it absolutely bang wrong, because the kid that came off the bench, the American lad who they paid $9 million for, he'd have absolutely tortured us if he had 90 minutes, I reckon. So,
yeah. But I think ultimately, look, I want to try and leave it on as much as positive as we can. I know many people might think it hasn't been. It's a good result. There's a lot of good performances today, and you were only a couple of players away from being a really, really good side that can push the playoffs, and I stand by that. And we're only in Amad Diallo pretty much away from winning the league, I think. Please come back in January, Amad. But Dave, Ross, thanks for joining. Onwards to a really, really tough game next week, but with the full crowd behind us, there's no reason why we can't get something out of that, hopefully. Thanks for joining, though, lads, and thanks to everyone for listening, sending the questions, and hopefully you can understand our slight pessimism, and I hope we're back to optimism this time next week, and we invite Brad back.
Yeah, jump on the bandwagon, Brad, when we get a striker. Shame on you.
As soon as we win, we'll be back. Don't worry, Brad.